I'm really pleased to be joined by Andy Gamble here at the Simon Acres sofa, and today's Special Legends is all about getting some great information from Andy about his experience in merchanting over many years. And the reason we'd like to do this Special Legends today is to encourage more young people into the sector. So good morning, Andy.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me along.
Perfect. So first question is, what are the types of roles within a merchant?
Very varied. I've worked in the industry since leaving school, and the opportunity to talk to you about roles for youngsters is great, because I've loved the industry. I think it's fantastic. So to answer your question, the roles, whether you're interested in being a external based, more manual job, you can work in yards, driving roles.
Yeah.
If you're more biased to want to work inside,
Yeah.
the variety is endless.
Do you think young people really truly appreciate the types of jobs that are available in merchanting?
I don't think so. Because who knows what a builder's merchant is?
Right. Yeah.
I didn't. I fell into it. I fell into it because, and many people do. I think. Yeah, they may know what a DIY supermarket is, and they will be familiar with some of the high street brands, like the internet online trade counters, but a builder's merchant seems alien, seems foreign. So no, I don't think people know the scope of roles. That actually, if you want to become office based, if you think you're a salesman, if you think you're customer service focused, it's endless, isn't it?
I wonder over the years, perhaps in your experience, whether you've ever known of any merchants that have gone into schools to explain the types of jobs that are available.
Many do.
Okay.
Certainly a couple of businesses that I spent most of my career in did, and still do, I know, at all levels. You know, very youngsters at school, primary and into secondary, and attend careers, fairs and festivals to, I guess, demystify what a builder's merchant is, and to let people be at ease with what the builder's merchants are about. Just because you don't know what a brick and a block is, and you don't know how construction works, doesn't mean you can't be very successful in a builder's merchant. I can't lay a brick and a block in a straight line with a smooth mortar joint for the love of me. But you don't need to know that. It's and apart from individual merchants, and I know a lot of independents and nationals are very good at promoting themselves to schools and colleges, further education. There's also industry bodies, as a Builders Merchants Federation, who do a lot of proactive stuff generically to the whole industry, or for and on behalf of the whole industry.
Andy, do you have any advice perhaps for merchants who might like to consider maybe even work experience placements for a few days perhaps?
I would say if you're not doing it already, do it. Again, I think there is work already happening, and that is increasing in terms of trying to bring fresh blood. I won't call it young blood, because that's not, there's just fresh blood into the industry.
New faces,
Be it through apprenticeships, be it through training programs, or just trying to encourage people in to this very diverse industry that we're in. People are trying to use their apprenticeship levy more wisely. Why not use it? And like many industries, we're no different. There is a skill shortage and a massive skills gap. So if you can't go and find people with existing experience, find someone who's enthusiastic, energetic, got a degree of common sense, and shows some initiative, who will succeed in this industry. There's many examples. Take my own, started as a trainee, I've touched on, but many of my industry colleagues and some people in more senior positions than I held started literally on the trade counter on a Saturday morning. A very senior individual who ran a significant chunk of UK Saint-Gobain, I won't mention his name, I believe started as a Saturday lad
they
in a
are,
builder's merchant.
Absolutely,
So
what do you think could be if I'm at school and I'm thinking about what do I want to do for my career, What do you think is the sort of sexiest aspect of working in a build? What's the major attraction within a merchant press?
Well, I can't say it's a sexy industry particularly, but it's I would say, and for me and for many, the greatest attraction is the people interaction.
The people.
You're dealing with customers, many of them quite regularly.
Yes. You become friends almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in the industry, particularly working in branch, you'll be dealing with customers. They'll see you as much as they'll see their own families during the working week sometimes.
So if you're a people person, then maybe merchanting's for you.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's not a sterile environment. It's an environment that will create some healthy banter.
Yes.
And there's a good bit of humour can apply where it's appropriate. Unlike perhaps retail, which is, I think, inherently going to be a little bit more sterile, if that's the right word. It probably isn't, but it's a good industry, and you put into it, or you get out of it what you put into it for certain. It's extremely diverse. The product range development is quite dramatic.
Interesting too,
As the industry is quite traditional in some of its ways in terms of how it operates, adopting modern methods and modern technology, but the technology advancements in and around products, their thermal efficiency, their
changing
environmental
rapidly,
is changing dramatically and much wider. When I started, the product portfolio was that wide. It's now significantly wider. So it's very stimulating if you want to get into products and knowledge.
So no 2 days would be the same. So if I'm a younger school leaver, I'm thinking, well, I don't want to sit in an office looking at a computer, perhaps. I don't want to perhaps fit kitchen or bathroom maybe, or get my hands dirty, but I wouldn't mind doing a combination of the two potentially, or the interaction with lots of people. So no 2 days would be the same. Never. That's interesting. That's a really good point.
Never.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And having different products. And for those people who want to perhaps focus in a particular area, I've worked with some fantastically successful, great people who started work in the yard. Some have stayed in the yard. You know, so in terms of specialism, people perhaps running a yard operation.
Yeah.
What they've done it fantastically well.
Yeah.
No desire to want to do anything other.
Right. Okay.
And thank heavens we've got those people, because you need that stability in a mix of a business. Other people perhaps want to have a more sales biased. We're not a heavy sales driven business.
Right.
By that I mean it's not
a
high pressure sales environment.
That's it. Yeah. No.
It's
relationships.
plenty of opportunities to sell
Yeah.
and provide great service and try and upsell and find added sales opportunities. Try and develop your own business and nick some business from your competitor, hopefully. But some people are perhaps more operationally biased, and some people will start working through the yards or counters and might end up then heading down a health and safety route because they find that particularly floats their boat. Some people might head down a more product route, so there's then roles into procurement and category management and product management and merchandising, and there's so many avenues that people can go down which they can find their own route. If they start at the grassroots, if that's the right expression. So I've always thought a utopian career path is if you spend some time in the yard, you get to know the heavy side building materials, as we would call them, and timber based products, handle them. You get to interact with customers, you find out what they're doing with them and how they're using them. That then logically takes you, I would say, into a trade counter environment, where typically yard goods are booked at the counter. It's not exclusive, but it's quite a typical model for a builder's merchant to operate. So then you're on the counter, so you're then getting involved with light side products, as we call them, so ironmongery and decorating and plumbing and heating and maybe even tool hire, and starting to get involved with the computer system. But you don't have to be a computer wizard. It's there's very few people who can't get their head around operating a point of sale operation on a builder's merchant. So don't let people be put off by that. You then start to get into maybe an opportunity to get into a bit of sales, a bit of negotiation, because builders merchant environments are known for
the left elbow comes out. What are you going to give me off?
A little bit, people almost coming expecting some discount, but the environment is such that most merchants are willing to do some negotiation if the opportunity is right, if the customer's got a project they're about to start, and there could be some other opportunities coming. You might want a bit more flexible and.
So all of that said, then, so what, playing devil's advocate, if I'm appealing this Special Legends podcast to young people to consider a career in merchanting, what kind of person wouldn't enjoy working in a builder's merchant?
In the pure builder's merchant environment, if you don't want to work with people and you want to work entirely on your own, probably not for you.
Okay.
Now, I just caveat that because some people who are much more
introvert,
numbers-based, there are roles for them.
Right.
You know, that a stock control role in a branch, you're more working within your own scope.
It's more specific.
Yeah, you need to interact with people, but it's
okay.
If you are a personable person,
yeah,
and you can chat, talk, get on with people, you will succeed, and that would be a real core strength in a builder's merchant. I would say.
I've joined a builder's merchant. I've just left school. What kind of career progression paths are there potentially for me? Obviously, depending on the size of the merchant.
Yeah. Okay. I've alluded to this a little bit earlier. So there is a good route to take you from yard environments, warehouse environments, shop, trade counter environments. For me, that's ideal because it gets you involved right at grassroots in terms of what happens at the outset of our operation in a builder's merchants, gets you interacting with your customers.
Yeah.
So as you then progress, and to me a great progression is into a sales role.
Right. Okay.
An internal sales role, as we would broadly call it.
Yes.
When you're not only dealing with the customers face to face, negotiating, you then will start to get involved in understanding plans and quantities and taking off things from taking
different skill sets are being used.
You'll start to interact more with suppliers.
Right.
Because there'll be occasion for you need to talk to suppliers about maybe customer needs
and special perhaps,
and a lot of specials.
Yeah.
A lot of builders merchants, not exclusive, a lot of builders merchants will do a lot of specials. But by special, it's the non-standard product.
Yes.
Builders merchants' lifeblood is stock on the ground.
Yeah.
We buy bulk from suppliers, break it down and sell it on.
Availability is important for the trade. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then there's so much diversity in terms of ranges of choices, whether that's windows, doors, kitchens, ironmongery. The list is endless. Roof tiles, bricks, claddings. It goes on and on and on. Then that's what I was touching on earlier. Since my time of starting, it's become much more diverse.
Yeah, so your yard potentially start then maybe into internal sales and estimating.
Internal sales,
what's next?
External sales. If the merchant has a structure that has external sales, not all do.
Is there a job title for that, Andy? When external sales, what would most merchants tend to call?
What would they call them? Very varied. Simon, external salesperson.
Okay.
Field sales.
Field sales,
There's a whole.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Is that like a company car potentially, or a pool car to use to go and see?
So that would usually have a company car. You're then having to work a lot more initiative, manage accounts.
Yeah.
You have a portfolio of customers, and you're going onto their territory, onto their patch, onto the sites.
So if somebody was thinking, I don't want to be stuck in the same place, or they're actually a merchanting career, eventually get into field sales can get people out and about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
That's attractive.
Thoroughly, to me, I thoroughly enjoyed that part of it because you get out, you see where things are being used,
yes, of course,
how they're being used, and for those who have got those attributes, then the most successful sales reps, if that's the word, or salesmen, salespersons out there, are foreseeing what the next products are coming up.
Yeah.
So if someone's
you're involved in the project,
coming out of the footings, you start talking about the roof and the roof tiles because you want to be ahead of lead times, which could be a consideration. You also want to be ahead of your competitors because if you start to secure someone's interest talking about the roof tiles when they're only just coming out, you're a step ahead.
Yeah. So I'm watching this now, or I'm listening to this as a podcast, and I'm thinking, I'd love to do that, but how am I ever going to learn all these things? Who's going to train me? How does that work in a merchant?
So, in terms of the skills, there's existing training courses from the Federation.
Okay.
Builders Merchants Federation, as an example, and there are other industry bodies that will provide that around skills, whether that's people management skills, whether that's sales skills, whether that's operating skills, whether that's health and safety skills.
There's a good suite of different training modules or face-to-face training that can be
the product knowledge will. Yeah. I don't think anyone can ever say they've got to the end of that journey because it's forever evolving.
Like you were saying earlier, it changes all the time.
Changing all the time.
Models, types, styles, colours.
But suppliers are very, very keen to promote. Yeah. Clearly, they want.
So a supplier might come into a branch and give some product training.
Very frequently, from my experience,
and when that happens, when that happens and somebody comes and gives branch training, how successful are the product sales after that, typically?
Depends on the recipient of the training.
Right.
But from my experience, good. And as with all training, people won't take in everything that they have been taught or told about. Yeah. But it will sow some seeds. Yeah. And got some great experiences of one of the businesses I worked for had training roadshows, and I experienced this myself. I was in one of my yards, and a customer came in, went to a guy in the yard, and said, "Do you do whatever the product was irrelevant?" And the guy in the yard said, "No, we don't." He said, "But I know we can get that. Because I've heard a bloke talking to us about that. Come with me."
Yeah.
Took the customer to the sales office. I thought, to me, that fantastic.
Teamwork.
Excellent. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A new starter to a merchant could be someone that's just left school and applied for an advert, or they know somebody and they've got their first job. Not necessarily apprenticeship. But do you think that most national independents and nationals merchants could take on more formal training or qualifications in the form of an apprenticeship? And do you think that there's more to be done, Andy?
So I think if I answer the last question, yes, there's more to be done. I think as an industry we are doing more and embracing more, and there's lots more conversation around it. I mean, your business is a shining example of that, Simon, but the industry bodies are talking about it. There are only this week I saw that there was a number of suppliers, merchants and federation bodies sat around a table. How can we, as an industry, promote apprenticeships? And that's not individual businesses just fighting their own corner and being selfish.
Yes, it's coming together.
The industry is wonderful. It's sharing best practice, sharing thoughts and collective responsibility.
Yes.
There's a lot of interaction through all sorts of forums, conferences, exhibitions.
Do you think that, like you mentioned, there's seems to be a little bit more activity in the market around this subject? Do you think because of social media, and we've all been taught how to use Zoom now, and there is more connectivity on this subject?
Yes. Yes, there is, and people can share what they're doing and thoughts and ideas more. Yeah. I think that whole evolving and continuing evolving arena will also help us as an industry access this fresh blood too, because it's very easy now to demonstrate what a builder's merchant's or a plumber's merchant's operation is all about, and demonstrate actually we are a diverse industry. Doesn't matter your race, colour, age, gender, everybody and anybody can get on. So that can be seen, can't it?
Yes.
Very easily, very quickly. And you could say demystify. I think when I joined the industry, it wasn't a mystery to me. I didn't know what builders merchants was. So now it's much more accessible. And
are there any specific standards, perhaps? A standard means a criteria that a learner could follow. Are there any standards that are specific to merchanting that you're aware of that you could advise people to look at?
There are some specific, some training programs that are designed to develop broader skills. So I'm moving away from product stuff here, which are industry created, so that they are actually aligned to builders merchants practices, procedures, terminology, and all those sort of things. A number of organisations, whether that's our industry federation. I know some of the nationals are very well geared up. They've got some very good, robust.
They're using the levy very well, and
using the level and bringing their own people from a very early stage onto a development program and taking them to various levels and to some quite serious levels of education equivalent, really.
So there is a standard specific for merchanting, the level 2 trade supply that somebody could research.
Yes,
and they could get onto that that qualification journey, and the merchant would support them to do that.
Yes.
That's amazing. So somebody that's watching or listening that's wanting a career merchanting could perhaps look at the Institute of Apprenticeships perhaps and find some information, or maybe even, as you mentioned earlier, contact the BMF, Builders Merchant Federation. Yeah.
If you're interested in taking it, just call into your local Builders Merchants branch, or contact your local Builders Merchants HR department.
Yeah.
Because with the skills gap, most builders merchants will take very positively someone who's showing and expressing an interest to say, have you got any jobs?
Yes.
I'd like to consider.
Yeah.
I'd like to come work for you.
Do that.
I don't mind what I do. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I just want to apply some skills that I think I've got. Most merchants will lap that up.
Yeah, that's good advice as well. Actually, go into a merchant and see what it's all about. Contact the HR department. Put yourself out there is what you're saying.
Yes.
I've done that. I've gone into a merchant, and actually the lovely HR person has actually come down to have a conversation with me. What sort of skill sets or personalities do you think that most merchants are looking for when they're looking to hire a young person?
I think in terms of traits, I think they want people who are willing to be flexible, adaptable. I've used the word, a bit of energetic and a bit of enthusiasm goes a long way. People willing to learn, take things on board, and then forget academic qualifications. It's to me, it's the people who come across with some positivity, enthusiasm,
good attitude.
These interpersonal skills really helps. But we in former businesses have employed some people who are quite quiet, but once they've had a chance to feel comfortable in their environment and get to know their colleagues, they come out of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, qualifications are important. Is it the case then when someone's assessing an individual in maybe their first career in a merchant, that maybe the grades aren't as important as the actual putting yourself out there and having the right attitude?
From my experience, it's the latter.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
okay, that's great advice.
If you're looking certain types of job, I guess you're looking for some confidence that there's perhaps a level of academic ability, but give me two people, I'd go for the one with the attitude and character and charisma over the one with the academic qualifications, because in this industry that's what's going to get you further.
That counts, yeah, okay. Andy, have you got an example over your career where you've either mentored personally, you've seen a young person come in, where they're coming at a very low level or a basic level, and then since progressed over the years to become, fairly senior in that company?
Almost too many to mention. So
well, that's good news.
It's not a flippant answer.
Good news, yeah, absolutely.
A lot, a high proportion of branch managers and builders merchants have started yardmen, drivers.
So it's quite common to promote from within.
Very common.
That's very common.
Very common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a bit of incoming staff resource from other industries is always healthy to give you a bit of a blend and to give you thoughts and ideas of other things that are happening. But as an industry, bringing people up through a career path is very, very common.
Yeah, I think you mentioned,
and very successful.
I think you mentioned earlier that there was a Saturday job or Saturday boy, I think you might have said, that came in and did part-time hours. That's now gone on to be, the senior director's position, whatever that was.
Senior. And I think you could pick up a lot of individuals.
Yeah.
All sorts of names come to my mind.
Yeah.
It's really inappropriate for me to share of very successful top executives in this industry, male and female, who started literally.
So if somebody's
grassroots.
if somebody's ambitious, then there's in merchanting there's definitely different career paths and opportunities there.
Yes.
Fairly quickly, I'd have thought too, actually.
Yes. Again, because of the skills gap, and because we all know the cost of recruitment, we all know the cost of training people. So if someone shows those aspirations, provided those opportunities come up in the branch that you're working in or neighbouring branches you're working in, why would you not promote within? If you can bring people up who know your systems, know your procedures, might well know your customers, why wouldn't you bring them up? Also, their peers and colleagues see other people progressing, for those who want to. So that's great, isn't it? That makes other people think, well, actually, if Fred's done that, I could do that. I could follow that path.
That's very encouraging. So would you advise someone who's thinking of that to target an independent, or would you say you need to be thinking more of a national?
Both have their place.
Right.
Both have. There's some great businesses that are one-off independent branches, to the other extreme where you've got some very big national coverage for some very good businesses, with some fantastic training programs. You know, I come from an independent, and some of the national training programs I was an envy of, because they've got a really good inbuilt training program bespoke to them.
Right.
May well be leaning on to some industry or some national qualification.
Right.
But they're training people on the way they do it and how they do it.
What's the benefits of an independent then? So that the nationals have got these preset, let's say, training programs set out that are very structured, let's say. But is there any benefits of going to work for an independent that would shine over a national potentially?
I've always worked for an independent, but it would be wrong of me to say that independents are better than nationals.
No.
Different places. Some people may feel more comfortable in an independent if they feel it's a little bit less corporate, maybe.
That's interesting.
Other people would say, you know what, I want to go for that national program because that'll take me to an NDQ level 4 or 5, which is a qualification that I could take outside the industry if I choose that actually I want to go down different paths later on.
So I guess going back to what we said earlier, if somebody was able to do maybe a little bit of work experience, perhaps in either, that would perhaps help them to understand which one they would prefer to do. Yeah,
I touched on earlier, as an industry, I think it's almost unique how merchants and suppliers talk to each other.
Yes.
Even competing merchants.
Yes.
Get them in an environment in a conference or an exhibition area or a meeting or a federation gathering. Yeah. People would talk, and people are very, very open to share best practice, what's worked, what hasn't. Yeah. Things that are causing them frustrations, things, some solutions they found to things, and I do know and have experience of people saying, well, listen, I've got this up and coming management trainee. Would you have them for 6-12 months? In your business to see how you do it in a different way. Certainly it's not uncommon, because some of the independent businesses are still family led, family owned, family run, and maybe there's the next generation coming into the business, and business owners are keen to get their son, daughter to go and work in another builder's merchant environment to actually, or even supplier environment to learn new skill sets.
And
come away from the cloak of being under
family business,
mum or dad in their business.
Is there such occasion where, again, in your experience in merchanting, where staff have actually gone to alternative merchants or competitor merchants to learn skill sets, and you've shared that?
Yes.
Yeah. So within, I guess, the Builders Merchant Federation umbrella, or just independently, outside of that.
Bit of
both. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So the idea is that you'd have, say, I don't know, a builders merchant in Scotland that might travel down to see one in, I don't know, Birmingham, for example, and spend maybe a week there, and that person goes there, and then you come back and say, what have we learned? Yeah. I've worked in a merchant for a couple of years now, and I've done trade counter. Is there opportunities to cross-train and actually do other sectors within the merchant? Or do I just typically stay on that trade counter till I get promoted?
All sorts of opportunities, Simon, some of which I've touched on. So from the counter, a sales route would be a next logical step, because it will get you more involved with more customer transactions. If you move into the sales office, you get involved in direct to sites and specials, as we've touched on. So it starts getting exposed to other important bits of the industry.
Let's say somebody phones in sick, and let's say that the driver needs a mate. Would there possibly where there is flexibility where I'm not just doing that same job behind the tray car, I could go out with the driver potentially, or even go out with the sales rep?
Almost critical. I use the word adaptable and flexible. To me, that's why you want people who are willing to do different roles, because most merchants, again, not different to lots of businesses, you haven't got the joy of having an over-resourced business. You're running it as efficiently as you can. Yes. So when you do get gaps, you need people willing and able to say, I'll step in.
That's interesting.
Simon's off. I'll go and cover his job today. Because actually quite good fun, a bit of variety for me.
Yeah.
It also then will also expose people to different roles, which will then make people think, you know what, I fancy going stock control route. I fancy getting involved more with health and safety. I fancy, I've spent a bit of time in the tool hire department. I'm really enjoying that now. I'd like to follow that route.
Cross training then that's so important. You're the branch manager. You want your member of the team to be understanding as many aspects of the merchant as possible, so you can help out where required.
Yes.
How do most merchants stay up to date with industry trends? And of course, we mentioned earlier about technologies coming to be a big part of that, and there's lots of changes there. But how does the branch manager and the team make sure that they are, right in the forefront of any changes that happen?
I think if you're a branch manager, you are reliant upon your central services functions to be driving that. I would suggest
strategy as well.
And the strategy. So, from my experience, I've already touched on the interaction between different merchants of different size, scale, independents, nationals, and specialists and distributors, and there's a whole host of variations on a theme here. If you take merchanting in its wider context, so a lot of opportunity there to share best practice. I talk about conferences. I talk about industry forums.
That's where you get information, wouldn't you?
You get a lot of information from. There are a number of groups of collectives of builders merchants who get together for various.
Are these buying groups?
Collective for various collective benefits, and that will create forum for them to, alongside their conversations, maybe about discussing a collective group purchasing opportunity to discuss what they're doing in different sectors, whether that's IT, whether that's control, whether that's finance, health and safety, transport, etc.
Would you advise, a greater number of visits to manufacturers, maybe, to understand what the new product developments are?
It can only help. It can only help. I think how we operate as a merchant is quite different to a supplier. What I guess is really important, though, is that if a supplier is following some new technology, the IT systems is a good example. There's an increasing amount of work going on in the industry between suppliers, merchants, and their various bodies to try and make sure we become far more efficient in how we handle product data. Product information to make the updating of systems far more
somebody who's
smooth.
IT sort of skill set minded, whatever the word is, that could be a progressive career for a young person in that sector. Because as you say, everything needs to be efficient and work better. And data obviously needs to be standardised and how you access that data. So that could be a good career for somebody.
I can think of 2 or 3 people in my mind who started life on a trade counter who end up in a product department, but that product department is actually focused on the data, the product file, the product maintenance, and there's a mass of information around a single widget on the shelf actually has a massive amount of data underneath that, driving sales, pricing, purchasing, health, safety, environment,
and
packaging, waste regulations,
I guess, as well.
A whole host of things.
Absolutely. Just even on nut and a bolt, for example, has all those facets that are attached to it. Okay. Can you give some final advice to summarise that? Where does an education leaver find out what the opportunities are and what the next stages are in terms of looking at the options? And the apprenticeship standard we mentioned was a level 2 trade supplier, for example, as one. So where would they get some references from?
So if it's apprenticeship route, your best route is going through the government government website,
Yeah.
City and Guilds website,
Yeah.
to find out what apprenticeships are available.
Yes.
That will then take you to a natural path of training providers.
Yes.
And they will
Okay.
have probably some points
Yeah.
of contact that they could share with businesses that they know they've worked with or do work with, who would encourage and intake apprentices. If you've already got your thoughts on the Builders Merchanting, the Builders and Merchants Federation website,
Right. Okay.
there's a whole host of information in there.
That's good advice. Yeah.
With types of training, apprenticeships, all sorts of information in there.
Yeah, and I think you said earlier, which I think that resonates with me, is that a lot of people expect things to come to them, but I think you said that go out there, visit a few merchants.
Yes. If you've got a situation where you've got some time and you fancy getting into the industry, go and knock on someone's door and say, you know, I quite fancy getting involved with what you're doing. Are there any opportunities? Can I come and work in your trade counter on a Saturday morning? Can you? There's many opportunities, and got some lovely examples, genuine live examples, where the people who have got jobs in branches for the business that I've worked are people who have taken the trouble to turn up with a CV and say, I'm not sure if you've got any vacancies, but can I leave you my CV? There might not be a job today, there might not be a job tomorrow, but many good branch managers will remember that Simon popped in 2 or 3 weeks ago and say, give you a call, because it comes down to somebody showing some initiative and some interest and set themselves aside from...
Absolutely, point of difference. And I always ask this question at the end of a podcast, Andy, is there an amusing story that you could remember from your career in merchanting that you could share that the people watching or listening could learn from?
One example I could think of in terms of where a lesson maybe was learned was there's a supplier in the industry, a particular type of lintel structure, and some years ago it was quite fashionable to have arches of brickwork above a lintel. Lintel sits above a window.
Yes. Yeah.
And a branch of ours had a phone call from a site, or it was a buyer actually who had taken a call from the site saying, the local merchant has delivered my cat lintels. We've got them in, we've got the brickwork up to first floor level. They haven't sent the arch formers, that these are called. So, okay, so we get onto the supplier. Supplier then gets a rep to go to site. The arch formers have been supplied. But Catnick supplied the arch formers very sensibly, slid into the box at the back of the lintel. The bricklayers had put these lintels in and built the brickwork up, leaving the arch formers in the lintel. So I guess the lesson in there is ask the relevant questions before you get a potential problem escalated too much. That's technical knowledge again, isn't it? Yeah.
Andy Gamble, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed that conversation with myself and Andy. For me, there's a wealth of experience there that we've just shared about the kind of roles in a builder's merchant that can be obtained. And I think the big thing for me also is that from that conversation that you can be promoted from within. So there is a clear career path strategy within a merchant. And anyone listening, if you're thinking about what do I do, quite clearly, there are so many varieties of roles in merchanting that there's going to be something for you somewhere. So the great advice is to go out there, find a merchant, ask the questions, perhaps do some work experience and have a rewarding career.